Welcome to MacroCode. If you're new to this channel, consider subscribing. So today we are going to do a complete Crud operation in MAUI Blazor Hybrid using Sqlite. So if you're new to this channel, please subscribe as we proceed with this new video series. So as you can see, I have my Visual Studio 2022. So I'm using Visual Studio 2022. So I'm going to create a new project. So on the new project, I'm going to choose Blazor Hybrid. So MAUI Blazor. So this is the app. So I'm going to choose .NET MAUI Blazor Hybrid app, and this is a project template for creating .NET MAUI applications using Blazor Hybrid. So I'm going to choose this first template, then a next. Then here, this is my location of the project where I'm going to store my projects. So I'm going to call these students app. So I'm going to call it students app. Then next. Then I'm using .NET 8.0, which is actually on long-term support. So I'm going to create new project. So my project will be created. So let me create my project. So as our project creates, for those who are new to this channel, you can consider subscribing. So as you can see on our project, we have our MAUI program.cs file. Then we also have our MAUI.xaml. Then we also have components here. You'll see we have the roots, which is the entry point. We also have the imports .razor. Then we have our pages. So even to begin with, then here we also have the main layout, and you have the nav menu. So on our nav menu, you can see we have the home, counter, and weather. So let's just launch this app and see what it looks like. So I'm going to launch the app. So let me just launch using an emulator. So let me just launch. So we are going to connect this to Sqlite and do some Crud operations. So this is my emulator for those who are following. So we'll be adding some NuGets to help us now connect this to Sqlite, and we should be able to proceed and do some Crud operations on this Blazor Hybrid app. So my emulator is launching. There we go. So let's just wait. So we notice 90% of you guys are watching our videos and you've not subscribed. So if you are one of them, or you are or you are new to this channel, consider subscribing, like our videos, and comment down below. So our emulator is launching. So let's just wait. So there you go. Our app is launching. So let's just see. So let's just see how our app looks like. So as you can see, our app has launched. This is our student app. We have the hello world. Then if you click here, you can see our menus. The same thing we have here: home, counter, and weather. So if we click counter, it takes us to the counter page. And if we click me, then you can see it is doing some iterations over here. Then on our next section, where we have weather, if you click on weather, then we have a list of weather. So this is how our app looks like. So what I want us to do, I want us to do a Crud app on Sqlite. So the first thing that we need to do is to install some NuGets. So I want us to install some NuGets on our app. So let's just stop our app. Then on our project, so let me just reset my window layout. So on our project here, I want us to add some NuGets. So just click manage NuGets. Then there are some NuGets that I want us to install. So if you come here, browse, then I want us to install community toolkit, Mvvm. So that's one. So click install, then accept. So after doing that, I want us also to install Sqlite net PCL, Sqlite net PCL, this one. So install that one as well. So after that, I want us also to install Sqlite PCL. So I'll just do Sqlite PCL raw dot bundle, Sqlite PCL dot bundle green. I want us to install this. So install that one. I also want us to install Sqlite PCL raw core. So once that is installed, so installing, there we go. Let's just wait as it installs. And if you come to dependencies here, you'll notice that under Android packages, you should be able to see all the packages that we've installed. You can see here, we have Sqlite net PCL, we have Sqlite net PCL raw. So the next one and you can see here we have a green icon showing that that has been installed. So I'm going also to install Sqlite raw core. So this one. So I'll install that. I can also install Sqlite. So this is, so click here. That should be installed. Then I'm also going to install Sqlite raw provider dot dynamic. I'm doing dynamic. So this one, CDECL, going to install that. Then I'm also going to install Sqlite 3 provider. Then I'll do here dynamic. So I'll do provider Sqlite 3. That one. So this one. So I'm going to install that. So after installing these ones, then we should be good now to proceed with our app. So you can see we have all our NuGets here. So the next thing that I want us to do is I want us to create a folder and now establish a connection to our database. So here I'm going to create a folder, then I'm going to call it database connection. Database, or you can just call it database. Then under database, I'm going to create my application DB context, a class. So I'm going to call this application DB context. Application DB context. So after doing the application DB context, so we need to establish now our connection to the database. So here I'll just do public. Then the next thing that I want us to do is I want us to define here our constructor. So I want us to define our constructor. So I'll just do CTO, then tab. Then I'll have my constructor there. Then at the top here, I want us to have now our public. So I'll just do public. And I'm going to zoom this so that we are able to see it clearly. So I'm going to do here public. I'm going to do public Sqlite connection, async connection. Then I'll do here underscore DB connection. So that is my connection. So The next thing that I want us to do is I want us to define our database, our application database here. So down here, I'll do public read only string. Then I'm going to do here string. So I'll just do static string. Then I can say namespace equals to, we need to pass our namespace here. So our namespace, this should be a string. So our namespace, we should get our namespace. So let me just see. So if we do edit project, so our app, so I want us to get the namespace of our app. So this is our, so I'll just do a student app. So I'm going to do this. This will be our namespace, student app. Then I'll do dot this here, dot database, that is the folder. So I'll give the name of my app, which is this one. You can actually take this namespace here. You can see this namespace. This one is what represents this. So take this one, then at the end, just put in a dot. Then the next thing that I want us to do is to define now the database file. So I'll just do public constant. Then we can say string. Then we can say database file name equals to, we need to give it the name of our database. So I'll just say student. So this is, we take now this namespace. Then I want us to have it here. Then you can say dot db3. So that will be our database file name. So the next thing is to define now the database path. So I'll just do public static, then string, and say database path equals to, can say path. So this is that way. Then you can say a path dot combine. So our database path will be that one. So we are taking now the namespace, then we have the database file name. But here I'm going to do file system, then I can do dot app directory, then you can say database file name. Then after that, I also want us to define some Sqlite open flags. So I'll just do public const, then Sqlite dot Sqlite open flags. Then we say this is flags equals to, then we can say Sqlite dot Sqlite open flags. You can say dot read only, read write. You can also have that Sqlite read only. So I'm going to have this down here so that you're able to see. So you'll have the read write. You can have the read only. Actually here I want us to have, instead of that, you can have the create. Then you can also have another one. So I'm going to do this. You can also have a shared cached here. I think we can have only those three. Then on our application DB context constructor, so I want us to do something here now. I want us to establish our connection. So I'll just say if underscore DB connection is null. So I'm going now to establish my connection if that is null. So I'll just say DB connection equals to new, then Sqlite async connection. then we pass the name of our database path, this one. Then we also supply our flags. So I'll just say flags, and we should be good to go. So the next thing that I want us to create, we've now established this connection. So the next thing is we need to have, so I'm going to also have this in our MAUI program CS file. So I want us to define our database connection here. So let's just go here. Then I want us to have here builder dot services dot add singleton. Then here we'll just have our application DB context. Then you can do that. We need to import this, so I'll just do that and import. So we now have our application DB context. So the next thing is I want us to create a folder. So here we'll just create a folder for models. So we'll say models. So we need to create, in fact, let's just do away. Let's create it within our database, because I'm sure if you create it outside, you might get some challenges. So let's just do it for now here. So I want us to create some models, and the model here, I'm going to create the student model. So I'll just say student. So here you'll just say student. Then within this, we are going to have some fields. So I'll say public. Then I'll also have my properties. So I'll say public int ID. Can also do public. So you can say a string first name. Can do that. So you can also do public. Here you can do public. Then middle name. Can also do public. Last name. Can also do, so this will be last name. I'm also having here my email address. So you can say email address. Can also say here gender. I'm going to define some few details, but you can enhance this. So I'll say gender. Then you can also have here maybe date of birth, date. So here I'll say date of birth. Then these can be date time. So this date time, the date time. So we have that. Then the next thing we can have here is, let's just capture this. So what I want us to do, I want us to define our primary ID key. So I'll just do here primary key. So that is it. Then I can say this is auto incremental. So if I do that, this is okay. And you can see it is using Sqlite. So the next thing is we need now to tell our application DB context to create that database. So how do we do that? So come here to student, then application DB context. Down here, we just do underscore DB connection. Then you can say dot create async, create table async. Then we pass our table, which is our student. Then you also do that. So this will now give us this will now create our database on our application. So the next thing that I also want us to do is whenever our application launches, we should be able to create the database automatically without any challenges. So what we need to define is we need to do this on our app.cs. So let's just go to our app here, xaml.cs. Then I want us to initiate our database. The first thing, when you just launch, we say, so here I'll just do public. Then we say static. Then we have our application DB context. Application DB context. Then you can say this is database. So we need to connect to actually create our database fast without doing anything. So I'm going to do that. Then I'll just say whenever the app launches, the first thing is to actually create our database. So we can say new application DB context. So that is it. So that will actually create our table, and I'm going to have our breakpoint here so that we see what is happening. So let me just come here and do it here as well and here. So if we now launch our app, we should now be able to create our table called student within our application. And the next thing that will now come in is to do a complete Crud app using our student table. So if you're new to this channel, consider watching our video, subscribe to our channel, and like our videos. So if you feel you also want to support us, you can buy us coffee or join our members community in the description below. So let's just launch our app and see how this goes around. So our app is launching, so let's just wait and see. So there we go. As you can see, we have our breakpoint here and our connection is null. So if we just go in, we have our database path. As you can see, we have our database and we have our flags here. So if everything goes well, then our connection should be okay. And you can see it has been connected and our table should be created. So our table has been created and we should now be good to query our table. So if we just see on our app, we should be able to access our app without it crashing. So it's loading and you can see we are good to proceed. So the next thing that I want us now to do is to do a complete Crud on to now create students within our app and do everything without any challenge. So what I want us to do now is to go to our components here. So I want us to, on the navigation menu, I'm going to remove the counter, or I can just replace this with the students. So this will be our students list. So we need to have our students list. Then from the list, we can now add new students. So let's create a students Razor component that will be able now to fetch the data from our Sqlite database and display the list of students on our application. And from there, we can now do either deleting, updating, or modifying any kind of data that we want. So I want us to go to create here a folder. I think we have it. We can actually use the pages folder. So on the pages folder, I want us now to create the student app and do everything that we want to do. So let's just, so here I'm going to create the students page and pages. So let's create our students Razor component page. So I'm going to say here, this is students list, then create that component. So this students list will give us a list of students. So I'm going to duplicate the weather component here. So because we are actually going to borrow some things from here, so I'm going to paste it here. Then now this one will call these students list. Then here our root will be student list. Then we can say, so let's just do away with this. Then here I want us to display the first name and display the middle name. So this is the middle name. Then we can also have our last name, and we can have our gender. So let's have here gender. So, and you can see this forecast. It's actually, so I want us to, at the top here, I want us to borrow some things. So here I'll say at using. So you can say student app. Then you can do dot. So here you can say we have the database. We can also have, so I think that should be okay. So what I want us to do under our imports, we should also, let's just have it here instead of the other side. So I'll call this database. That's okay. So we should remove this from here. So let's use it on the other side under imports. Then for the students list, we now have so on our students list, as you can see, we have on our students list we have first name, middle name, last name, gender. Then the next thing is we need to define some things here. So we'll be having a list of so I'll say this is a list. I can say list of students. So let me just do that. And here I can say students. So this one, I'm going to stop our project so that you are okay. So, and you can see here, I think we can use this so that we don't get any challenge. So here, that should be okay. So our list here, we should actually be checking if our students list is null, and we should loop through our students list. So this will be student. Then from student, we can get the first name. Still not looking on that. So let's just clean and see. Let's clean our project and try to rebuild. So we should be able to have our student list. So here you can see we have now our student. I've just cleaned the project and you have the students here showing now. Then you have our students. Then here we should now have student.first name. Here we can have student.last name. Last name. Here you can also have this should be middle name. You can also have student.last name. And then you can have the gender. So you can have your gender. So as you can see now, this will be a list of students. So the next thing that we need to do is we need to get our list of students. We need to get our list of students here. And to do that, I'm going to remove this because we have our model somewhere. So to do that, I'm going to retrieve the list of students. So I'm going to do app.database.get. So we need to get our tables. So, and to get our table rows, so I want us to fetch some data from our database now, which is student. And to get there, we need to define some things. So one of the things that we need to do is I want us to go to our application DB context, and we need to define some generic methods that will be giving us data whenever we need them. And one of the methods is to get either to get students or even to delete. So, and we are going to do that under the application DB context. So I'm going to remove these breakpoints. Then here, I want us to have some generic methods within this section. So I'll just do public. Then you can say async. Then you can say here task. So this task will be returning an int. Then we can say create async. Then on our create async, you're expecting an entity, so t entity. So we'll just do that. Then here we'll just do t entity. So we'll have, let me just do it again. Then you can have that. Then we are going to do that. So we'll have the t entity, then where t entity is a class. Then inside here, we now have to return. So we'll say return await. Then we'll say db connection dot insert. So we'll say insert async. Then you pass our entity. So this is what we need to pass. So if we do that, then we should be okay. So whenever we'll want to create a student, then we'll just use this method. So the same thing we can do when we are updating. So we'll just do update async. Then here we'll just do update async, and we update with the entity that we've supplied. The same thing we can do is to delete. So I'll just say here delete async. Then this one will be delete async. Same thing, we can add or update. So that is in case you want to insert and update, we can also do the same thing. So I'm going to do here add or update async. So we're just utilizing the Sqlite. So you can say add or update also. We have something called insert or replace. So that is it. Then this is one thing. Assume we want to get now the list of students from our database, which is the student table. So I want us now to define another method of getting all the table rows. So I'll just do public. Then I can say list t. Then this will be, we can get table rows. So we'll say get table rows, and this will be t. Then I want us to be providing the table name. So I'll just say here string table name. So where t is a class, then I'll just do that way. Then here we need to, so I'll just do object, which is an array. So I'll define it. Then I can say this is obj is equals to new. So I'll just say new object. So I'm going to do this. Then we can do that. So then I want to do the table mapping. So I'll just do table mapping. Then table mapping, I can say map equals to new table mapping. Then you can say type dot get type. So once we do that, we now need two things here. We need the namespace that we had defined at the top there. Then you can say plus the table name. So the table name is what we've supplied here. So once we do that, then we can now do a string. Say we can do a query, which will be equals to select. So let's just have this as select star. So we are now retrieving data from that table. So it says select star from. So when you do from, I'll just do that. Then we can have that we can, then we can say from the table that we've supplied, table name. So we'll say table name, then plus. So this should be plus, and I can close it that way. So this will give us some results. So we need to return now the list. So we'll do that, then db connection dot query. We'll say query async. Then we need to supply our map. I say map. Then another thing is the query. So, and another thing is the object. So then after that, we take the results. So we say dot result. Then we can cast it. So we can say cast t. Then we have it on as a list. So this will give us a list of data on the particular table that we've chosen, and it will give us it will return a list of details. So assuming that is now the list of all the data within that table. Assuming we just want to get a row, so I'm going to do that, and I'll supply this table name. I'll also supply the string column. So I'll just do column. Then you can also do value. So this will return now for us a single value, and here I'll just do object. So this will be an object, and we can remove that. So the only thing that will change is how we are now doing our query. So we'll say select star from table name. Then you can say here where, then you can close it. We add where our column. You see the column that we supplied there. Then we also do that plus. Sorry, we do plus. Then we say where column equals to. So we need to provide an equal sign. Then so when we do equals to, so I want us to do that, supply that way. Then we say plus. Then we have our value. We have our value here. Then on that value, we need to also do plus. We need to close. And if you are keen, you'll notice that I have double quotes and single quotes here. So my single quote starts and it ends, then my double quotes starts and it ends, so that you don't get an error. So after doing that, then we need to, so I can actually remove this. So I can say plus from that, then I can also do away with this. And at the top here, I think we have a mistake here. This one should be a square bracket. So, and this one should be okay. So once we do that, we should now be able to return the results as well. But now our results will not be the list, but first or default. So if we do that, it will now give us the first thing. So since we have that, then here we can do, I think that's okay. So this will be map. So we can now able to retrieve just a single row or multiple arrows. So when you go to our students list, we can now use this, and we can say here our list, this is our students list, equals to, can assign it, and you can say here dot get. You can see we are now able to access our function get table rows. And here, remember, we need to supply student. Then we need to pass the name of our table. So our table name is actually student. And when we do that, we already know that this will return us, will actually return a list of students. So if we do that, this will be the list of students that we want. So I think that is the major thing. So let's just see, this is yeah, so that might contain null, so that's okay. So then I want us now to have our navigation menu here, students, and we need to change that to students. So if we launch our app now, we should be able to access our students list page without any challenge. So let's just launch our app and see. So for those who are watching this video and you're following, remember to subscribe, like our video, and also if you feel you want to buy us coffee, you can use the link below to buy us coffee, or you can join our community. So that is it. So let's just wait for our app to launch and we see how it looks like. So our app is launching. So let's just wait and see. So we should be able to access our list of students, and we can now add an area for us to register a student. So there we go, it's loading. So as you can see, if we go to navigation list under students, then you can see we have our students list. And you can see this is a bit, this is actually now empty. So the next thing that we need to do is we need to register a student. So I'm going to students list, and you can now define a button. So here I'm going to define, so I'll just call this maybe table, can say Hoover, can also have table, can do script. So that is it. Then at the top of my table, so I'm going to do here, I'll have here div. So div class, then I can say row. So I'm going to do that. Then I'm also going to do div class here, call md12. Then I can now close that. So I'll just do here, close those two, and I should be good. So the next thing is I want us to have within here, I want us to have a button. So I'll just define a button here. So you can say here, can have a link, and you can say href equals to, then I can close it. So then I can have my class. I want to have this to look like a button. So I'll just do btn. So I'll just do btn. Then you can do success, and we can actually float it to the end. So we can float it to the end. So on our link here, we need to say this is add new student. So on our link here, we need to define the form to add students. So I'm going to create another page. That is another Razor component, and we are going to call that new student. So we are going to call that new student. So this Razor component, I'm going to call it new student, add new student. So if we do that, then we'll have my Razor component add a new student. So this is my add new student Razor component. And we can define now some fields here. So we can say add new student. This is our field. So here, without doing anything, I want us to borrow some things here from our list. So we can actually borrow, or we can just define. So let's just define. So I'm going to do div class row. Then I can do here, so I'll close this, and also do div class call md12. So this should be class. Then can do that. This is 12. Then I am going to close it. Then the next thing is so this should be that way, and I can close it. So the next thing is we need to define now the form. So here I'm going to do edit form. Then on our edit form, we can say form name, can give it the name, can say this is add student. Then I'm going to close this. So inside our edit form, I can do data annotation validator. So I can close that. And I can also do here validation summary. So I'll just do here validation summary. Then, so this I'm going to close it this way. So once you have that, I also want to define now our forms. So our entry points. So I'm going to so that is our inputs. I'm going to do here call md12. Then I can close this. Then you can also do div class row. Then I'm going to close this as well. Then I can do here div class. So I'm going to do div class. Then I can say call md6. So then inside here now I'll have my form group. So I'll do div class, then I can do form group, then we can close this. So if I close that, I can now have my label. So I'll say label, then we can say class form control. I'll just say control label here, control label. I'll just do that. For our control label, I'm going to say this is a first name. So then down here we can have our input. So I'll just say input text. So this will be input text. So then we can say class. So we can have our class here. Then you can call this form control. So on our form control, then I can also close this. So before we proceed, I want us to define something on our code down here. So I want us to define our model. So I'm going to do public student. Then you can say here stud object. So I'll just do stud object. Then you can have this as a get set. So this one, then we can initiate it here. So you can say this is new. So this is not being seen. So we need to import our using. So I'm going to do this, copy this, and come to our add student. Then I'm going to have it at the top here. So I'm going to have it at the top. So once you have that, we should be good to proceed. So I'm going to stop also our app. So our student app is here. So the next thing that I want us to do is when you see on this student app, I want us to define something here. You can say this is a supply parameter from form. Then we are going to use this as the data should be coming from this model. So on our edit form, we can actually indicate our model, and you can say is equals to that student object. Then we can also now on our input text, we can now say for. So this is for, can do equals to. So can do that. Then you can say here first name. So that is coming from our first name, and we can bind the value. So I'm going to do at bind value will be equals to. So we are getting our value. So just say at object, at student object, sorry. Then we can say dot, we access the first name there. So once you do that, we can also do here down here, can have our validate message. Then we can say for equals to, we do that. Then we can do student object dot first name. So if we do that, then we can close this. So that should be okay. So the next thing that I want us to do now is to duplicate this area to ensure we cover all the fields. So we are going to do that. Then we'll be changing this to middle name. This is middle name. Same thing here. We'll do here middle name. And we can also do the same thing here. So we can also copy this and have it as a last name. Last name. Can also do here last name. last name. Then I can do here also last name, and this is last name. Then I can also copy this and have it here as what was our next thing? We under models, we have first name, last name, then email address. Can also capture our email address here. Say email address. So then we can also have this email address. Then also you can duplicate that. Can have another thing which is gender. So we'll say here gender. I'm going to remove that. So this is gender. This should be gender as well. So here we can have gender, then gender. Then I'm going to also have another thing here. We can call it confirm on our model. It was date of birth. So I'm going to have these as date of birth. Date of birth. And remember, for the date of birth, we should be using something, not input text. So here should be input date. So that is how you change that. So here we can have that as date of birth. Then at the end, we should be able to have, define our button. So down here, I want us to define our button. So I'll just do div plus. Then you can say this is can say form group. And then I can do margin top. Then I can close this. Then I can say I can have my button. So I can have a button. Sorry. So I'll just say button. Then I can have the type of the button. This one will be submit. Then I can also have class. So my class will be btn. I can do here primary. Then I can close this primary. Then I can, so this one you're missing something here. So primary, then so I'll close it that way. Then you can say this is a save student. Then here we can also have our button, so or even a link. So you can say this is a link. Then you can say it has a button class. So I'm going to do this. So this link should be able to take us to our students list if you go to back. So I'm going here, then I can just have this as that way. I can have it that way. Then if I close, I can have my class here, and I can say button btn. Then I can say this is danger, and I can say this is back to list. So that is how my button looks. So, and I can actually define the positions. So I can say maybe this is a float, and then I can float these to start. Float these to start. So we now have our form, but this form is not doing anything. So, but I want us first to do something. So here we need to define our page, our router. So we'll just do page. Then we can say equals, we can say that, then we can say add student. So that is our page. So for us to navigate to this page, we should go to our students list, and on our add new student button, you remember here we need to do backslash, we have our add student. So whenever we click that button, it will take us to the add student page. So that is it. So I want us to launch our app and see what will happen. So let me just use our Windows machine. We see how that goes. So if you're new to this channel, consider subscribing, like our video, and you can comment down below. So let's just see how our app launches. So our app is launching. So let's just see. There we go. So we should be able to access our list and now our new page, which is add as students. So let's just see. So for those who are new to this channel, we notice 90% of you guys are watching our videos and you don't subscribe. Please subscribe and like our videos. So you can see here we have now our students. So if we click, you see we have our add new student. But now we have a button here that is not clear. So if we click add student, it takes us to the add student page. So let's just try to check. Let's just remove that. We have our button. Oh, this is closed. Yes, so this is closed. We have our add student button. So I'm going to update. So let's just go back to our students list. We see how it looks. So I've updated the changes. This is how our button looks like. So this one, actually it is on a wrong place. We should have it here. So if we apply the changes, then this should look like a button. There you go. So you see, this is our students add student button. So if we click add button, it should take us to the add new student. And you can see we have now our add new student. We have the backlist and the save student page. But now this thing is not doing anything because we need to define the actions. So if you click on save student, what should happen? So that is what we need to define. So on our code within add student page, we should define our create. So I'll just do protected. I'll just say protected async. Then we can say task. And this one we want to create student. So we want to create student. And if we do that, then we can do that. Then here we need now to save our student. Remember, we have our form here will be having some data. So I want us to, whenever they click on create student, we save that student. So I'll just say here, so variable result equals to, so I'll just say here await. Then we can say app.database.create. So we need to access the create async. And our sync, what does it need? It requires we supply. So here we need to first pass our model. So this is student, and we need to supply the object. So this is it. So if we do that, we should be able to save our data to the database. And another thing, I want us to display an alert here. So what I want us to do is I want us to display an alert. So to display that alert, so I'll just say display. So display, so I'll say, we can say await dot app dot display so I want us to display an alert here, so I'll just do await. Then I can say display alert. So then we can do that, sorry. So we'll just do display alert, and here I can say success, and I can display the message. I can say this is you can say students details successfully submitted. So if we do that, then you can click here submitted, then you can have an OK button. So you can say OK, and you can close this. So if we have that, you can see here we have display alert not showing. So So here, I want us to change this display alert. We need to do here, we can say app.current. So you say current dot, so this should be current, sorry, this should be current dot main page. Then we can do, this should be current dot main page. Then we can now have our display alert here. So display, so that is when you can see that. So you can see we're now borrowing some MAUI features here, and you can see we have this when this is okay, and we can also check if we do that. You can say if that, so because this it returns an int, so if that is greater than 0, then we have here this means it's success. We can now give this success message, and if that is less than 0, then we can give an alert error message. So you can do that. Then you can say this is say oops. Then you can say students details could not be submitted. Then we can also navigate. So we can navigate back to the list. But now to do that, we need to navigate to inject something here. So you can do at inject. Then you can have navigation manager. So I'll just do here navigation manager. Then you can say this is navigation. So if we do that, then we can now use our navigation here, down here. So whenever this is saved successfully, we should go back to the list. So I'll just say navigation, then dot, you can say navigate to, then I can do that. Then I can have my list where it has to navigate to. So this one, I can do the same thing here. So here, I can also do here. So this one, we need to get it to the list and we need to pass this. So to do that, go back to add student, then have it there. Then assuming they click, so for the students list, if they click back, then we are going to students list. That's okay. So this method here, create student, we need to add it here. So here we have something called on valid submit. That is when we have our create student. So if you submit this form, it will actually hit on our create student section. So let's just launch our app and see what happens. So I think our app is launched, so we can just update and see if our changes will be applied. So let's go back to the list. So there we go. So just applying our changes, then see if that. So if I just click new, I can say this is Joshua Mbugwa Karanja. Then you can say test@gmail.com. Then you can say this is mail, and you can have our date here. So you see how our date looks like. So if we set that and we click save, so something went wrong. The selected engine does not support execute current. So let's just stop this and try to relaunch. So let me just relaunch so that you're able to see what should happen. So if you're new to this channel, consider subscribing, like our video, and comment down below. So our app is launching. There we go. So let's just see what will happen. So let's just see what will happen. So there, So there we go. So I'm launching. Then if we go to students, then add new student, can still have our Joshua Kimani Mbugwa test@gmail.com. Then you can say this is mail. So let's just confirm our date here, and we can click save. So you can see we have our button, our breakpoint there. And if we come to our object here, you'll notice that we have our data. We have our email, our date, first name, gender, last name, and middle name. So if we proceed, it has given us a result, and you can see the result is greater than 0. So that means it will give us an alert. And you can see our students' details successfully submitted. So if we click OK, it will now take us back to the list. And you can see we now have our students' data that we've just supplied. So we can add some students' details. So let me just add another one. So I'm going to add here macro code. Then I can say subscribe. So subscribe, guys, if you are not subscribed. So you can say test@gmail.com. Then you can say mail. Then you can also have the same date. So if you save, you can see it is saving, and our list is growing. So you can say Alex Joshua Karanja test@gmail.com. Then you can say email, and you can save it. You can see it is actually saving our list, and it is growing. So our list is growing. So you can say Mine. So you say Mine Joshua. Let me just do Obadiah Karanja test@gmail.com. I can say email. I can say this, say female. Then we can save. So if we click save, you can see we have our success message, and we have our list here. So we can also now try to, on this list of ours, we can add some buttons. So assuming we want to have buttons to edit or delete. So that is what we need to test. So on our students list, we need now maybe to have 2 buttons. So let's just go back to our students list. Here, I'm going to have, you can say this is edit. So you can say edit. So we need to edit our student details. So I'm going to do that. Then you can say here delete. Then you can say this is delete. So if we do that, delete, then we now have to have our buttons here. So I'll just do there. I'll copy one. And if we go back here, this one, I'll have this as a link. So I'll just do a href. So we need to define where this will go. So I've closed that, and you can have this as you can have a class here. You can say this is btn. You can say primary. So this is our edit, and we can call this edit. We can also have another one. So this should be closed. We can also have another button for deletion. So this will be delete. And here I'm going to define it that way. Sorry. So this one will be danger. So if we update our app, apply changes, we should see those 2 buttons. So let's just wait and see. You can see we now have our edit and delete buttons. So this is how our app looks like now. We have the edit and delete buttons. But those 2 details doesn't do anything. We need now to add another Razor component that will now help us to edit and delete. So I'm going to create another Razor component, and I'm going to call this edit student. So if we add the edit student Razor component, the edit button actually looks the same thing. The edit page looks the same thing as create student. So I'm going to copy the create student section and just paste it under edit. But now within edit, I'm going to change this to update student. And here I'm going to change this to update student method. Then we need to replace this, to change this here. Our on valid submit should be update student. And we should change this from create to update. So we should update async. So once we have that, we should also create a delete page. So let's create also a delete page, whereby whenever you want to delete it, you are able to delete. So on the students list, I'm going to, instead of having this as a delete, so we can actually call maybe a method, or let's just have another page to delete. Let's just have this as a razor component, and you can say this delete student. So if we do that, then we should be able to get the student detail to be deleted. Then you can just confirm. So I'm also going to copy the same details on the edit page, then paste it here. Then here I'll just say this is delete student, and this is also delete student. Then we should now able to configure several things. Now on the edit page, so let's just go back to the edit page. I want us to update some things. So on the edit page, we should be able to ensure that whenever we just click edit page, we should be able to update the student details and actually display them. But for the edit page, I want us, whenever we just click edit page, we need to supply something. So here, I want us to supply the ID. So here we'll be supplying the ID of the student. So we'll say ID, then this is an int. So when that is supplied, so this is update student. So that is how you define that. And we can call this update student. So on our on initialize here, we need to have an on initialize here. So we can copy it from the students list. So copy this one. Then have it on our students edit page. Then what we need to do now here is we need to load a student. So let's create a method to load a student. So you can say, let me copy this, and we can do that. So we can say here, load student. So this one should give us the student details that has been selected. And the first thing to do is we need to assign those details to this object. So I'll just do that. Then I can say is equals to await. Then before even doing that, we need our parameter. So you can say public int the ID that has been supplied at the top there. So we need to get it so that we fetch only the student details that we want. So that is the ID, and we can annotate this with something called parameter. So if we do that, so we are able to tell that this is the parameter. Then so we'll do app.database, then get table row. So we are going to get the table row. And remember, for us to get the table row, we need two things. We need three things. We need the table name, which is our student. We need the column. So the column will be the ID, and we need the value, and the value will be our ID. But this ID needs to be in string, so we'll just do string. And here we'll now get our, so this is not await. So we can now get our student. So let's just confirm this. cannot implicitly convert student to student. So you can have these as a student. So because this is not, you can say variable student. If we do that, it will give us the student. And if we do that, then we can say this equals to student. So you can actually cast this. So to do that, I'm going to do it this way. So I'm going to do it student, and we have that there. So that will give us the student details. So what I want us to do here on our initialize, we need now to call this method. So we can call that. So this will load the student data and pass it to our object, and that data will be displayed here. So then our button here, we can say this is update student. So if this update students is clicked, we need to now update our student, and we again navigate back to our normal way of doing things. So you can say this has been updated. So, and you can say this is also updated. So that will load our student. Now we need to, I think this is okay. So the only thing that we need to do now is we need to reference this on our students list. So how do we reference that? So if we go to our students list, we need to ensure that when we go to our students list, we need to ensure that here we are passing our student update. So that is the update students page. Then you also need to pass our ID. So I'll just do at student dot ID. So that is what we need. So this is dot ID. Then also for the edit, I think this is delete. So we need to also do the same thing here. I'll just say delete student. For the update, I'm copying that and also have it here. So this one will be update student. You also need to pass with the ID. So I'm going to copy the edit page here. So we just need to supply this. So let's just copy the whole of edit page and take it to the delete section. So then update these two. Can say this is delete. We also need to get the student that is being deleted. So this is a delete student. And when you do that, it will get the details, the same thing that we have done. So we can do here await. So it will get the student of the details. That is the detail of the student with this ID. Then pass it to this object. Then we now need to delete the student here. So we'll say delete. So if we delete, we can say delete student details. So if we do that, I want us to come back to our on value submit. We update that, and we can update this to delete student. So when you click on delete student, we need to delete it here. So we'll say delete async, and you need to pass that, and it will also return us data, and that is okay. So if we do that, then we should be able to delete, and we can say this is delete student, and this is also danger. So let's try to access our page now. So let's launch our app and try to see if those actions works. So if you're new to this channel, consider subscribing, like our video, comment down below. So we notice 90% of you guys are watching our videos and you have not subscribed. Please consider subscribing, like our video, and share. And you also, if you feel you want to buy us coffee, you can use the link down below to buy us coffee, and we'll appreciate. So our app is launching. So let's just wait and see. So waiting for the debugger. So let's just close that. So let me just relaunch. Do you have anywhere? Yeah, so let's just relaunch our app and see. So there we go. So let's confirm if we can be able to edit our app and also delete our student details. So let's just see. So our app is launching. There we go. So let's see. So if we go to students now, we should see our list of records here. And if we go to edit student, if we click on edit student, nothing is happening. So you can see if we do delete, the same thing, nothing is happening. So let's just confirm what is wrong. So if we come back to students list here, yes, we've done some wrong definition here. So this should be href, this should be href. So if we do that, update our app, applying the code changes, let's just wait. Then changes has been applied. So if we click the edit button, it should take us back to the edit section. And as you can see, we are now within the update student page and we have all the data here. So I'm going to change this to Joshua updated. And I can also say Kimani here updated. And you can say Mbugua updated. And you can say agenda updated. So if we do that, we can now update. So if we click update, it should update our data. So you can see students details successfully updated. If we click OK, you'll notice that the first section is Joshua updated and all these detail has been updated. We can also delete. So if we click delete, you can see it has fetched all the data and it is telling us to delete the students. So if I click a delete student, then our students detail has been deleted. And you can see we now have 3 records. So I'm going to leave it there for today's video. If you like the video and you really want us to enhance this application, you can comment down below and see you in our next video. Bye.